Hey everybody, how's it going out there? Adappa11 here with another Star Wars action figure review. This is from Star Wars, the original Trilogy collection. From 2004, I believe, there were a total of 12. This particular figure, Princess Leia Organa, was a gift to me from one of my best friends that I met back in 89 or 90 in high school. And I only have one figure, and that's the original Kinder collection, which ironically I found this very figure in the Valley of Fire, probably in 1981 or 2 or something like that. Some other child left it there, and I need to give it a good cleaning. There's a video for the future, I guess. But anyhow, back to this one. 12 came out. Here's this one. Now, as you can see here, this is pretty identical to the vintage collection. It seems to me that the vintage collection was an extension of the Trilogy collection, and these are mighty fine figures. So we're actually gonna take a look and see how this figure is out of the package. Let me turn it around so we can take a look on the back. As you can see, it just gives a picture of the old Kenner card, and there's no bio here on Princess Leia. I think it's the same spiel. If you want, you could pause it and read it without me having to do that now. And you can see at least 3 other figures with her that came in this line of 12. So I'm very happy about this. So let's take a look. Open it up and take a look at Princess Leia. Okay, here we have Star Wars, the Trilogy collection, Princess Leia Organa from A New Hope. Very happy with this figure. Probably more so because I've been waiting so long to have a decent quality figure from her from A New Hope. So here we go, let's begin. Okay, let's take a look at her paint job on her face. As you can see, it's a nice sculpt, very good paint job, not over exaggerated anywhere as we have seen in the past. The hair is consistent. There's the buns, as we can see that she was so famous for. Well, I mean, there were many famous things that she was known for, but as far as visual. So there is that mold that we have on the back. Now, you can tell with her hoodie here, let me put this down here, it is not cloth. Now, I like that it's not cloth because of how over-exaggerated the cloth robe can look on some of our Jedis and whatnot. So it's nice not to have such a over-exaggerated garment around her body. And you can tell it's a separate piece here that's kind of glued onto her back. There we go. So you don't want anything to get under there, or you don't want to pry it. I'm sure it's glued on there pretty well, but it's interesting that it's like that. Okay, you can tell here that she's on a ball joint here, so it's in there pretty tight. I tried to move it earlier and I don't want to force it. So she does have ball joint articulation at the shoulders, bilateral. No restriction of the movement there. Now, as far as the articulation on the elbows, as you can see here, they are not ball joint, but they are at a swivel and at an angle, which we have seen so often, especially in the Revenge of the Sith line. So yeah, I'll take it. Can't have everything, I guess, quite perfect, but as you can see there's that. So you don't want to mess around with this so often where the gap and the looseness begins to increase, and you can imagine that it would just fall off with time. But anyways, getting back to her wrists here, they're swivel, and she has a rotation at the waist. Nice belt buckle there, a little bit of paint job. Okay, well, she does bend forward at the hips, but there is no abdominal crunch. Now, there is no abduction at the hips, but she does swivel forward and backwards. And with the knees, is it looks or appears like it might be only swivel, but that's not just the case. You can see it's a swivel, and there's probably a peg, male end, that goes into the female superior aspect of the calf right here. So it just goes right in there. So you do have some rotation. However, as far as the ankle, no, there is no articulation, and there is no swiveling of any sort. So there is no articulation at the ankles. Now, that's fine. I mean, like I said, you can't have everything perfect. But something else I want to point, two things I want to point out here is the stitching of the robe. It only goes, it only goes up to here, as you can see, the opening, and then it's stitched right up to that point. I don't like moving my camera, but there we go. And that's fine, because if the stitching were to only close right here, then there's increased probability that it would tear, because you'd have all this extra looseness, and then if you tear it, then of course with time and more usage, the stitching and tearing would just increase. So I like that. That's a smart idea. They only have it go so far. It decreases the chance of tearing the stitching. So, and the other thing that I think is important, especially for those of you who like putting their action figures in a diorama setting, or even when they're just in posture on display stand, be mindful that with this particular figure, you won't be able to use such stands because there are no holes on the bottom of the feet, as you can see here. So that's unfortunate. But as you can see, at least with this particular figure, there's no warping of the legs, and without much trouble. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's luckily she has that rotation inferior to the knees, at the superior calf area where it ties in, because you can actually rotate the bottom half of the legs to get her to stand better. As you can see, I'm kind of like working it to get it to stand. So there you have it, the articulation there. And as you can see, the paint job, there's a little bit of detail on the belt, none on the blaster pistol. Surprisingly, she does not have that blaster pistol that she had at the beginning of A New Hope. Sorry, hardcore enthusiasts, I do not know the type of blaster that was. But so this seems to stem from, of course, when they're on the Death Star. So I guess putting her in front of this one makes it appropriate. But anyhow, I suppose that is it. I hope I did a fair enough job on presenting this review. I find this figure to be fantastic. As could you imagine just using this one that I found as a child? Oops. In like 1981 or 2. In Valley of Fire in a rock, and she needs a cleaning. So I had another one that came with a cup, but bam, broke off at the waist. So my friend Dave, thank you very much for giving this to me. Though I guess it was a gift back to me because I gave him a prototype vintage collection Boba Fett. Thank goodness I have this figure, because just for those of you that know your mythology and know your history of where George Lucas came up with the ideas or the inspiration of Star Wars from Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces, this is an action figure that's representing the mythological Greek goddess Artemis. In Roman, she was known as Diana. Her twin brother was Apollo, which is represented by Luke Skywalker. So there's a little bit of piece of history and or mythology for you to end this video. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Appreciate also a thumbs up and a subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I have other videos. You can check them out at your leisure. And I will do the best that I can to get to some of the requests that I have. And I guess that's about it. May the Force be with you, and take care, everybody.